Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Public Utilities for the City of Santa Rosa to order. If we may have a roll call, please.
Board Member Wright?
Here.
Board Member Mullen is absent. Board Member DeWitt?
Here.
Board Member Bartholow?
Here.
Board Member Badenfort?
Here.
Vice Chair Arnone is absent. Chair Galvin?
Here.
Let the record reflect that all board members are present with the exception of Board Member Mullen and Vice Chair Arnone.
Thank you. Any statements of abstention by board members? Board Member Badenfort?
Chair Galvin, thank you. I just wanted to mention that I was absent for the April 3rd meeting.
Okay. Any other statements of abstention?
Well, this isn't an abstention, it's just I was absent also in April meetings, the 3rd and the 17th.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have no study session. We have the minutes for April 3rd and April 17th. So at this time, we'll take public comment on items 5.1 and 5.2. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing no one move, the minutes will be approved and entered. We'll now move to our staff briefing. So Deputy Director Schiavone.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. Starting our staff briefings, item 6.1, the Laguna Lab update. Robert Wilson, Laboratory Supervisor, will be presenting.
Hello, Chair Galvin, members of the board. My name is Robert Wilson. I'm the lab supervisor for the Laguna Environmental Lab out at the Laguna Treatment Plant. So the Laguna Environmental Lab was established in 1968 with the primary function of physical and chemical measurements of wastewater. Clean Water Act was on the horizon, and Santa Rosa prior to that knew that it needed to have eyes and ears on the discharges from the wastewater treatment plant at Laguna, and opened up the lab. As regulations changed, the lab expanded in 2000, started its expansion in 2000 to add advanced instrumentation. Regulations are getting tighter, especially when it came around non-conventional pollutants, like metals and that type of pollutant. And so they expanded the lab to include advanced instrumentation to analyze that data in-house. Staffing for the lab includes lab aides, analysts, a programmer, and management for 14 people. And in last year, 2024, we did 12,000 samples with 33,000 analytes. The treatment plant is highly our number 1 client. So you can see operations is 64.6% of the total samples that we run. Biosolids, environmental compliance, and then quality assurance are all samples that support the Laguna Treatment Plant's operation. And then water quality is next after that. We also do services for stormwater and engineering services and a few minor projects. We really support our clients by providing bottle kits and sample assistance, making sure our clients know what they need to do to collect samples to make sure that they're representative of the waste streams that they're analyzing and provide us exactly what we need. We can't do a lot to make a sample better after it was collected, so we try to set them up with the best possible kits and advice as we can. There are projects that go beyond our scope with the Environmental Lab Accreditation Program, or ELAP. So PFAS is something that has been coming up, and we've had to work on contracts to send PFAS samples out to other labs because the instrumentation is extremely expensive to run that in-house. We also do that similarly for dioxins, something that's infrequent, and bacteroides for stormwater, something that also is infrequent and doesn't support having the instrumentation in-house. As I mentioned, Cal ELAP is our accrediting body. They accredit all labs, environmental labs in California. they adopted the NELAC Institute, or TNI standard, some time ago, with laboratories having to comply by January 1st of 2024. And to that end, we had to implement a new quality management system, update standard operating procedures, the manual itself. It increased a significant amount of traceability at the bench level. So a good example is that the way we do the tests don't change, but we have to indicate every single item that we do that test with, every pipette, every instrument has to have a unique identifier that then we can trace back. The sample can be traced back to exactly how we analyze that sample. So it increased the paperwork side of doing the same data that we have been doing for the city. This is the TNI compliance timeline that I've shown a few times in the past. The red dot has happily been moving across the timeline. We initially had to prepare all the documents and get ready for the January 2024 implementation. And then as we have gone, the staff has to continually assess whether we're capable of doing what we've said that we're going to be doing. And to that end, in April 2024, we started proficiency testing, which is a blind sample, double-blind sample that the staff receives and has to prove that they're able to do, that's a known value from an outside lab, and we have to prove that we're able to actually meet that value. That's one way of doing it. We also had to do internal assessment, so we subcontracted our internal audit with a SAW Environmental and had Tony Francis come do our internal audit in April of this year. This was the first time that we had an audit that was looking at our program as it compared to TNI instead of prior to the TNI implementation. So you can think of it as a pre-test before the final. And I'm happy to say we don't have the report back yet, which will have the list of findings, but everything after the audit indicated that our staff is implementing the standard effectively, and the stuff that we've put into place is compliant with the TNI standard. A few things that every lab, with any audit, there's always growth that you can do, but we are meeting what we need to be meeting for eLab standards. The next step in that is that we will have an external third-party assessment. It is pretty much the same thing as our internal assessment. The only difference is with the internal assessment, the auditor can provide us feedback on how we can improve. The external audit, they only tell us where we're deficient, and then we have to determine how we improve. So we feel extremely ready for that. That's next month, and looking forward to having that completed. Some special studies that we've been working on. I mentioned in the past, we are continuing our epidemiological studies. We're participating in 2 national studies. These were influential in looking at SARS-CoV-2, the COVID-19 virus. We continue to look at influenza A, B, RSV, a handful of viruses that are received in our headworks. These are submitted to the plant through the wastewater system. Newly, they've added measles as an assay to what they're looking at. So we do not, the first samples to be analyzed for that are May 19th. So we're going to start receiving data on measles soon. But we haven't started doing that. They have not started doing the assay on our wastewater for that virus yet. Last time I was here, I talked about that we started doing illicit drugs in our headworks. The benefit of doing this is it produces data for disadvantaged communities and for public health. Not all communities have the resources to identify, particularly if there's a drug. Typically they have autopsies or that type of thing to determine if there's issues with drugs in the community. For various reasons that might not be able to be performed, but with wastewater data you can see if community levels are higher, lower, or equivalent to communities of equivalent size. We've been looking at fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamines, and xylazine. Xylazine, the top 3 are more common, understood. Xylazine is a horse tranquilizer, and less commonly found in it actually hasn't, there's only one hit for xylazine in all the data that we've collected. These are the methamphetamine numbers. So on the y-axis, it's milligrams of methamphetamine per 1,000 people per day. This is detected as methamphetamine, not as the metabolites. We have that data as well, but it mirrors the image that you're seeing up here. The blue line is what I showed you before, the limited data that I had in the last time I gave this update. The new data is the national average. So as you can see, the numbers in our headworks are well above the national average for methamphetamines. Fentanyl shows a similar trend. We are above. It does drop towards the end of 2024 and going into the earlier part of this year. You know, I have no reasons why particularly, but the data are there, and we're contributing to those national studies that will help all communities that are struggling with these issues. And we're going to continue the COVID or the wastewater epidemiology and our illicit drugs studies as we're continuing to be in the studies. And with that, I will open up to questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Open it up for any board member questions or comments. Board Member Wright.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's quite interesting what we find in our wastewater. I was noticing that that's 1,000 people. On the left, your left axis was 1,000 people, milligrams or per 1,000 people. How do you derive that? And I'm just curious about. So you pull a test and somehow you figure out 1,000 people's worth of water. How do you deal with the winter months when the water is crazy, when you have all sorts of peaks? And I'm just curious about the technical part of how you can get your handle around that.
Absolutely. So we actually do not analyze that data. The data is provided to us, but I do have the understanding of how they analyze it. So when we signed up for the program, we told them our population for our service area, so 230,000. And so then they took the concentration that they're detecting in headworks and based it off the 230,000. They are doing assays, other background assays like nicotine, and they have estimated totals that would indicate what those levels were per person. So they are able to back calculate. There is some estimations involved in the 1,000 persons per day versus a pure concentration like you're talking about.
Is there any correction for wet weather?
Sorry, that's why I mentioned that. Yeah, so the using other indicators like nicotine is the correction for when there's excess flow.
Thank you. Interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
Other board member questions? All right, we'll open it up for public comment on item 6.1. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. See no one rise. Thank you again for the presentation. We'll now move to item 6.2. Deputy Director Savoni.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. Introducing item 6.2, Regional Water Reuse System Annual Compliance Update. Heather Johnson, Environmental Services Officer, will be presenting.
Okay, good afternoon, Chair Galvin, members of the board. I'm Heather Johnson, Environmental Services Officer out at the Laguna Treatment Plant, and I am here today to provide you with the 2024 Regional Water Reuse System Compliance Update. So today I'm going to go over some of the rules, regulations, and permit requirements, along with any non-compliant events that we had for our wastewater treatment, biosolids, recycled water, and air quality. After that, I'm going to talk to you about where we landed with our phosphorus compliance now that the discharge season is over. I'm going to touch a little bit on our UV system compliance schedule, and then end with just a quick discussion about where we are with our NPDES permit renewal. So for wastewater treatment, recycled water, and biosolids, we have our main NPDES permit, which covers the treatment of recycled water and discharge to receiving waters. And then for recycled water distribution and use, and for biosolids land application, those each have notice of applicabilities that are governed under statewide general orders. Our non-compliant events for wastewater treatment and monitoring are listed here on the screen. I'll touch on some of the bigger ones. We did have over 1 million gallons of wastewater that bypassed part of our secondary treatment process. It did receive partial secondary treatment along with full tertiary filtration and UV disinfection. We diverted that water to an off-spec storage pond, but to note that we didn't exceed any of our permitted effluent limits as part of that bypass. We did have 10 periods in 2024 where our water received no disinfection or was under disinfected. Those ranged from 3 seconds to over 57 hours in duration, with a total duration of roughly 70 hours over those 10 events. The largest event, the 57-hour, 19-minute one, was caused due to high rainfall in the area. We received it was 13 inches of rain over a 72-hour period, and that just caused really high flows at the treatment plant that exceeded the capacity for our UV system. So some of it bypassed the UV system, and some of it just received a lower dosage. All of the other reasons are listed under the causes for those other events. And then for total coliform, we had 13 total days where we exceeded our 7-day median limit of 2.2 MPN per 100 milliliters. In all of those 13 events, we weren't able to pinpoint the exact cause. For our recycled water and discharge, we had a total of 8 events where we had leaks or spills from our recycled water system. They ranged from less than 50 gallons to, pardon the typo, it should say 36,000 gallons up there. The larger event, the 36,000 gallon event, was due to a line break in our ag system. We isolated the line, we repaired it, and we brought it back online. And then in December, when we discharged from Delta Pond, the water that was in Delta Pond at the time was commingled with a small amount of off-spec water that had escaped one of our off-spec storage ponds due to a faulty check valve. Just to put it into context, it was 1.7 million gallons of off-spec water that reached Delta Pond. Delta Pond had 524 million gallons in it at the time, so it was 0.3% off-spec water in our discharge. So for our air quality, we have 2 permits. One is a 5-year permit, just like our NPDES permit. It's called a Title V air permit for major sources. And then we have an annual permit to operate that mirrors the Title V and is issued once per year. Our non-compliant events for our air quality permits are listed up here. I'll go through all of them. We had an instance where our engines for the combined heat and power system 1 and 2 exceeded the natural gas limit. This was because engines 3 and 4 had oxidation catalysts that failed. Engines 1 and 2 have a natural gas limit, and we blend with our biogas when we run those engines, and because we couldn't run engines 3 and 4, we exceeded the natural gas limit. For our boilers, the Laguna Treatment Plant has 2 industrial boilers that are over 35 years old. They've been able to comply with the Air District regulations for boilers under the low use exemption. Back in 2014, boiler number 1 exceeded that low use exemption. We tested the emissions, it failed, and we had to take it offline. This year, unfortunately, boiler number 2 exceeded that low use emission or low use exemption. And given boiler 1's emission results, we expect it would also fail. And the way the rule works is you have 2 years to get into compliance. And We actually have a CIP project already going for the boiler replacement, and so based on the construction schedule, we expect the new boilers to be in place before the 2-year deadline. And then I did want to let you know that the Air District offered a civil penalty settlement of $25,000, and we agreed and paid it. This was for 4 violations that occurred back in 2023 when we exceeded our high-strength waste throughput limit. Okay, so for phosphorus compliance, these are all the numbers that have asterisks on them. They are not final because we have not yet received our third-party validation for the projects that we already have in place. I think they're pretty close to what we're going to end up with, but I just want to let you know they are estimates. Just to summarize, we started with a healthy over 17,000 credits. We think we're going to generate about 841. We discharged 5,555, and that leaves us heading into the 25-26 discharge season with over 12,000 credits. So we're looking pretty good with credits right now. Okay, so back in 2020, when our NPDES permit was issued, the regional board put in a time schedule order for compliance with our UV system construction. The time schedule order it's a requirement for us to report annually on where we are with construction, and then it has hard deadlines for construction completion and for meeting permit effluent limits once construction is over. We realized this past year that we weren't going to meet those deadlines, and so we requested that the board extend our time schedule order. They reopened our permit. It went out for public comment. And in December, they adopted our amendment order with the revised dates for tasks 2 and 3 that you see up on the screen. Finally, our permit renewal. So we submitted our application in September of 2024. It included the required forms, updated maps, schematics. It included some lab data that we hadn't submitted previously. Every permit cycle, we're required to validate our model for our Delta Pond discharge, and so that was included with the application, along with updates to our trucked waste management plan and our discharge management plan. Moving forward, our permit expires in September of this year. The staff at the board have let me know that they're running behind, and so at this point, I think our permit will be administratively extended, and then we'll just hang out in a holding pattern until they can get around to drafting our permit. And that is it. I can take any questions.
Thank you for the update. Open it up for now for any board member questions or comments. Board member Wright.
I'm just curious, on the NPDES permit, are we pretty much doing that all in-house now, or are we consultant-based on completing the permit, or how does that work with us?
For the renewal?
Yeah, for the renewal.
So we do a lot of it in-house. We did hire a consultant. We hired Larry Walker Associates. They helped us for the previous cycle. And they really help with putting all of the data together and filling out those forms because they can be kind of arduous.
So is our goal to take it more in-house or stay with forever we just use consultants to do the permit? And so, you know, how do we think we're going to move?
I don't.
Okay. You're not
so speaking for myself, I think when this position was brought online, a lot of the intent was for some of the work to move back in-house versus consultants. I know that we used Merritt Smith for many, many years, and with their retirement, it just was a natural progression for it to move in-house.
Yeah. Yeah, I certainly support that. This is a complicated, negotiated, difficult permit to renew each year, so I certainly appreciate your hard work on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other board member questions or comments? All right, we'll open it up for public comment on item 6.2. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. See no one rise. That'll take care of item 6.2. Thank you again. Now move to item 6.3. Deputy Director Schiavone.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. Introducing item 6.3, celebrating Public Works Week. Bryce Aston, Community Outreach Specialist, will be presenting.
Thank you, Joe. Good afternoon, Chair Galvin and members of the board. My name is Bryce Aston. I'm a community outreach specialist with the City of Santa Rosa's Communications and Intergovernmental Relations Office, and I primarily perform outreach and communications for Santa Rosa Water. I'm really glad to be here today to be sharing with all of you how the City of Santa Rosa and Santa Rosa Water will be celebrating Public Works Week 2025. Celebrating our public works professionals is really, really important because they provide essential services for our city and are responsible for maintaining, repairing, rehabilitating, and building our new and vital infrastructure such as our water delivery, wastewater collection, water reuse, and stormwater systems. This year, from May 18th through May 24th, the City of Santa Rosa will be celebrating our public works professionals by sharing a series of stories across a variety of city outreach channels, accepting a proclamation at City Council on the Tuesday, May 13th City Council meeting, and hosting our 5th annual City Works Festival on May 21st at the Santa Rosa Wednesday Night Market at Courthouse Square. Firstly, to share Santa Rosa Water's story, our team will be highlighting the facilities, infrastructure, and services provided by our public works professionals. These professionals include technicians, engineers, operators, and employees at all levels of local city government and the private sector. They're responsible for our community's shared resources, such as our water treatment system, our wastewater collection system, our water reuse system, and other facilities and structures across the city. These stories and more will be shared across Santa Rosa Water's Instagram and Facebook pages during the Public Works Week next week. Secondly, to acknowledge and recognize the efforts of our public work officials and to give them acknowledgement for that work, the Santa Rosa City Council presented a proclamation to our Parks and Recreation, Transportation and Public Works, and Water staff at the May 13th City Council meeting. Representatives from Water included Joy Hinkey, who is a civil engineering technician 2, and Adam Friedman, who is a utility systems operator, senior utility systems operator. And finally, last but certainly not least, to provide an opportunity for the community to connect with and interact with our public works officials, the City of Santa Rosa is very excited to be hosting our 5th annual City Works Festival on May 21st at the Santa Rosa Wednesday Night Market in Courthouse Square from 5 to 8:30 p.m. The festival will be located on 4th Street between Mendocino Avenue and D Street. And at the festival, you can expect to find all sorts of fun stuff. We'll have a combo truck, a mini excavator. There will be a really fun scavenger hunt, and there will be plenty of other city equipment that attendees can climb aboard and explore. This event is fun, it's interactive, it's family friendly, so I really encourage all of you, if you're able to attend. I had a great time last year, I attended. And finally, if you'd like to learn more about how the City of Santa Rosa is celebrating the 2025 Public Works Week, you can visit srcity.org/YourCityWorks. Thank you very much to all of our public works professionals and to all of you for having me here today. And at this time, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. I certainly would encourage our board to make the Wednesday night market next week. It's always a fun time. So any other board member questions or comments? All right, we'll open it up for public comment on item 6.3. If you wish to make a public comment, please move to the podium. See no one. Thank you again for the presentation. We'll see you next week. Move now to item 6.4. Deputy Director Schiavone.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. Introducing item 6.4, Santa Rosa Plain Groundwater Sustainability Agency Aquifer Storage and Recovery Pilot Study. Claire Nordley, Senior Water Resources Planner, will be presenting.
Good afternoon, Chair Galvin and members of the board. As Deputy Director Schiavone mentioned, I'm going to be talking about a pilot study that's going to be conducted in our area through the Groundwater Sustainability Agency using our infrastructure. So who are the project partners for this project? First, we have the GSA, which is the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. They've received a grant through the Department of Water Resources for almost $7 million to do drought resiliency projects throughout the basin, and one of which is this pilot project that will be occurring with our infrastructure. Sonoma Water is a project manager for this, and then Santa Rosa Water, our portion is that we're going to be supplying the infrastructure through our Martha Way test well. So what is ASR? It's basically a two-way well. You can store water underground during wet periods and then recover it for use during dry seasons or emergencies. It supplies water supply reliability and supports the stabilization or recovery in areas with groundwater level declines. And pilot studies are not uncommon in our area. A lot of other municipalities in our area are looking at ASR as a potential water supply option, including City of Petaluma, which is in process right now with a pilot study, City of Sonoma, which completed a study in 2018, Sonoma Water, Valley of the Moon, and Town of Windsor. So we're in good company. The project goals for this pilot study are really to support the groundwater sustainability plan and the projects and management actions, which some of the goals are to reduce reliance on our groundwater. It's also to benefit to Santa Rosa Water. We're going to be testing the feasibility of ASR in Santa Rosa. And as you all hopefully remember, we've adopted the Water Supply Alternatives Plan, which looks at additional water supply portfolio options and including ASR. So this is a diagram of the Martha Way test well. This is the southeast greenway, if that orients you. And you can see on the left, that's Franchetti Avenue. And then we've got Martha Way, Bertha Lane, and Albert. So the yellow dot is actually the test well that already exists. Santa Rosa drilled that in 2010, and it's 870 feet deep. The red box around the test well is where the construction staging will happen. The blue line is the pipe from our potable supply to the well, so that's where we're actually going to be pulling the water from. It's potable water, and then it's going to be injected into the Martha Way well and then stored in the aquifer and then discharged through that red line, which is a perforated pipe on the southeast greenway. So we'll get some free irrigation for that area. Here are the project details and the timeline. The pilot test is expected to occur this summer. We don't have a firm timeline yet because the GSA has submitted this project for a permit through the regional board, but we haven't yet received confirmation that that has been approved. So once that permit is approved, we'll have a more firm timeline of exactly when this pilot test will begin. It's anticipated to have 4 cycles of discharge and then recovery. So there's going to be a pre-test, and then there will be 3 different cycles of injecting water in, which is called recharging, storing it in the aquifer, and then recovery, which is pumping it out of the well and discharging it to the land. Total, these are the amounts of water that are going to be both recharged into the aquifer, so 2.6 million gallons over the course of 24 days throughout 3 cycles. So this is not all at once. Then the storage period occurs, and that's 48 days total, again, over each one of the 3 cycles. And then recovery, we're pulling water out, and that'll be about 3 million gallons over 2 weeks. Of course, we want to make sure that the community surrounding the construction area is kept well informed. So we plan on sending letters to the surrounding neighborhood in both English and in Spanish. Of course, we'll have signage at the construction site in case anyone walks by, and the Southeast Greenway, of course, is well utilized. So we want to make sure that people are aware of what's going to be going on there. There will also be a web page on the Santa Rosa Plain Groundwater Sustainability Agency website explaining what the project is, project goals, more information about how to reach the project manager, et cetera. We've also already reached out to the Santa Rosa Southeast Greenway campaign to let them know about this project. They were enthusiastic and supportive of it, and we'll continue to keep them updated about the project as it moves forward. We've also notified Ag and Open Space, as well as coordinating with our own internal parks department, for example, for their mowing schedule, making sure we're not interacting with that or conflicting with that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Very informative. Look forward to seeing the results of the recovery process. Any board member questions or comments? Board member Wright?
Well, thank you for the presentation. This is something that we've been talking about for a bajillion years, it seems like. A couple things. So the recharge water is coming from the aqueduct. Do we dechlorinate it, or do we just stick it in the ground with chlorine? I know there's been some discussion about that.
Yeah.
And then, I guess I'll just ask 2 questions at the same time, you can answer them. And then, and we're going to use the existing casing and put the water back down 800 feet. And I assume we're doing this in the winter when there's more water available.
We're going to start it this summer.
Actually, I'm sorry, I did see that in the thing, but in winter is when we would normally recharge.
Right.
In the perfect world. And of course, my concern about Martha Way is it's connected to the other wells, which are artesian, and so is there room in there in the winter? Because I guess that's why we're doing the study, so we'll figure that out. But anyway, those are my questions. Thank you.
That's a great point. And to the last one, we do plan on putting a transducer at Carly well, so that we can understand if there is going to be increased water supply levels in that well. And obviously Farmers Lane is being operated at that same time in summertime. So potentially we'll have increased yield from Farmers Lane if we're injecting water into Martha Way. But we'll have to find out. That's to be determined. And then Deputy Director Schiavone, would you like to talk about the dechlor and water quality?
Great question. Similar question that I had as well. My understanding is that they do not dechlorinate before they put that in the well. And it's the process that we are still kind of going through. It sort of acts as a bubble inside the well that it's injected to, and then it's removed. And depending on where it's discharged, would likely be dechlorinated when it's discharged.
Okay, well, it's all part of the test, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you for your presentation.
Other board member questions or comments? Board member DeWitt.
Yes, thank you. About 30 years ago, the city of Santa Rosa did a thing called the Southwest Area Plan over in areas to be annexed into the city of Santa Rosa. And there was a concern about how the paving that's all been coming in with development is essentially blocking off natural recharge. It's creating some difficulties for well owners. So I'm very supportive of the idea of the aquifer recharge, which was talked about back then. Now that it's taken this many years to get to the point where it's more acceptable to do it, do you have some, I guess the best way to put this is, some proven examples that can be given to the public to assuage their concerns that it might be problematic?
Problematic in any way, or is there a specific,
well,
like
here
water
we're talking
quality,
about
or?
chlorination, all right? That's something that concerns people. So do you have like public information you'll be giving out to let people know that this is a tried and true technique and we're not going to be polluting anybody's wells, we're going to be doing positive things?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a really good question. And that is exactly why we're doing the communications prior to the actual construction. There's going to be information on the website and the information to our customers in that letter about the benefits of this. Of course, the potable water that's injected into the well is what they all drink. So there shouldn't be any concerns about, any water quality issues in that way. And of course, that's why we do pilot studies. We learn from them every time, and there may be things that we change as we move forward if we would roll out something more full scale. We're also learning from our other municipality neighbors. As I mentioned, there's many other utilities in the area that are conducting or have conducted similar ASR pilot studies and have learned from them. So we're also trying to understand what their lessons learned are and making sure that we're communicating early and often to our customers.
Other board member questions or comments? All right, we'll open it up to public comment on item 6.4. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. See no one rise. Thank you again for the presentation. We have 6 items on the consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Actually, before we take the motion, my apologies, I'll open it up for public comment on the 6 items on the consent calendar, if anybody wishes to comment. Seeing no one rise, now we have a motion by Board Member Wright, seconded by Board Member Badenfort. We'll go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Board Member Wright,
Aye.
Board Member DeWitt,
Yes.
Board Member Bartholow,
Aye.
Board Member Badenfort,
Aye.
and Chair Galvin.
Aye.
Okay, and that passes unanimously with Board Member Mullen and Vice Chair Arnone absent.
Thank you. We have one report item. Deputy Director Cervoni.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. Introducing item 8.1, waiver of competitive bidding and professional services agreement with TIV Branding. Nick Sedano, Senior Environmental Specialist, will be presenting.
Good afternoon, Chair Galvin and members of the board. I'm Nick Sedano, Senior Environmental Specialist within the Water Department Stormwater and Creeks team. I'm here to discuss a professional service agreement with TIV Branding. So in fiscal year 2018-19, TIV was contracted to create a compelling and dynamic marketing campaign developed to inspire community education and behavior change to raise local awareness of our stormwater systems and the operational impacts of pollutants on our creeks for compliance with the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permit for our stormwater systems. Initial efforts focused on discovery, brand design, and development of a comprehensive marketing plan, calendar and outreach strategy that effectively reached target audiences that leveraged existing brand assets, particularly creek signage and branding, for maximum efficiency and reach. Currently, the partnership includes 13 different city and county agencies, which represent 33 municipal jurisdictions throughout Sonoma, Mendocino, Marin, Napa, and Contra Costa counties. Since 2019, TIV has been an impressive contractor and collaborative partner. From the start, TIV has actively listened to our needs, helped create extremely successful campaign concepts, and implemented all of those concepts. Their forward thinking has been integral to the long-term maintenance and programmatic development while inspiring new and innovative approaches within our city. TIV has gracefully stayed within their expertise and when needed have recommended necessary expertise beyond their capabilities. A few of these innovative campaigns developed that you may have seen or heard of include the Streets to Creeks campaign, which was recognized by the California Stormwater Quality Association as the 2023 Outstanding Public Outreach Project. Within the umbrella of the Streets to Creeks program are action-specific campaigns such as Neighbor to Neighbor, our Creek Protector program, our Action Tracker, Your Creek campaign, and recently implemented EPIC campaign, or Every Piece Inspires Change campaign. This professional service agreement will be focused on but is not limited to stormwater National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit requirements, which include residential outreach, children's outreach, ethnic communities outreach, and industrial and commercial facility outreach. This agreement allows continuing development, management, and implementation of existing campaigns and development of new strategic campaigns that build from prior work. As the Streets to Creeks campaign progresses, the cost per engagement continues to become more and more cost effective. Stormwater issues and services are not well understood, but residents highly value the outcome of stormwater activities, especially clean water. Utilizing lessons learned from other municipalities throughout the state, ongoing general education and community engagement for stormwater is essential. The proposed agreement with TIV Branding allows the city to continue its compliance program and capitalize on the momentum, community resource, and success of the Streets to Creeks campaign. TIV Branding is needed to continue existing brand development recognition and consistency of the current program. Contracting with TIV Branding allows the city to leverage further and build upon work products that they developed over the past 7 years. Services include design, creative services, branding, planning, and interactive platform supportive of MPDS permit, strategic communications, and outreach initiatives. This scope will build on existing marketing efforts and build new awareness for stormwater issues with respect to low-impact development, pathogens, nutrients, sediment, multicultural outreach, and other iterative permit requirements. TIB Branding continues to be a professional, thoughtful, extremely creative, and charismatic company that understands stormwater issues and backs up experience with data analytics. They continue to remain iterative and drive us towards program excellence. The PSA would be funded by the stormwater assessment, so no general funding, and the contract would expire in the June of 2029. For all these reasons, Santa Rosa Water recommends waiver of competitive bidding and authorization of an award of a sole source professional service agreement to TIV Branding not to exceed $105,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sedano. We'll open it up for any board member questions or comments.
Please.
Member DeWitt.
Hello. I am quite concerned that there's not enough information in Spanish along the creeks in the southwest. Over on Roseland Creek especially, we've been doing creek cleanups for 30 years and I've never seen anything in Spanish to let the folks know why we're out there doing that stuff. It would be nice to just have basic Spanish stuff on the signs that are already there. It's the kind of thing where I think this organization could be doing it, and I hope they'll step up to it now that's been mentioned. Just saying the word ethnic or multicultural is nice, but actually having it in the Spanish language at the site where you want them to understand, don't throw the trash in the creek. It's really important, especially because in many countries, the creek is the spot that is the trash collector. They look at it like, hey, that's just where you throw it. So we have to change that dynamic and help them to understand that Streets to Creeks is about keeping these creeks as clean as possible. So please advocate that TVI do as much as they can with Spanish signage and Spanish handouts to people at all their events. Thank you.
Any other board member questions or comments? I'll open it up now for public comment on item 8.1. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that the Board of Public Utilities by motion waive competitive bidding for a professional service agreement, PSA, for public outreach services, and 2, authorize the award of the PSA to TIV Branding in the amount not to exceed $105,000.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Board Member Wright, a second by Board Member Bartholow. This time, may we have a roll call vote?
Board Member Wright?
Aye.
Board Member DeWitt?
Aye.
Board Member Bartholow?
Aye.
Board Member Badenfort?
Aye.
And Chair Galvin?
Aye.
Okay, and that motion passes unanimously with Board Member Mullen and Vice Chair Arnone absent.
Thank you again for the presentation. We'll now move to item 9, public comments on non-agenda matters. If you wish to make a comment on non-agenda matters, please move to the podium. Seeing no one. We have no referrals. We have several written communications. So at this time, we will take public comment on item 11. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing no one. If the board has any comments on any of those matters, now is the time to speak. Otherwise, they'll just be admitted, and they were in.
I have a question about the 11.1.
Remember, do we?
I read the document from Ms. Burke that's provided as 11.1, and I can appreciate the position. I'm curious because there's such flux going on at the federal level with the United States Environmental Protection Agency maybe not even knowing what their approach is going to be on many things. Will Ms. Burke please keep us posted on this in the future and come back and tell us more about it so that we'll know what's going to be occurring, please? Thank you.
We'll make sure that happens. Thank you. Any subcommittee reports? Item 12. Any board member reports? Director's report. Acting Director.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. I'm happy to report that to celebrate Earth Day on April 22nd, 80 individuals participated in the Every Piece Inspires Change, or EPIC, cleanup event in Roseland. This event included elected officials, community members, businesses, and city staff. The community's efforts resulted in a total of 975 pounds of sediment removed from the gutter and a total of 325 pounds of trash collected and prevented from being conveyed into our storm drains and creeks from the 3/4 mile pilot project on Sebastopol Road. And then it's with a heavy heart that we share the news of the passing of a member of our city family, Dana Wilson. Dana passed away peacefully yesterday morning after bravely battling cancer. Dana joined the city's IT team on May 16th, 2016 as an IT technician in the water department. During the 2017 Tubbs fire, Dana was instrumental in supporting the EOC. Dana was promoted to a senior IT technician in 2019 and then to IT supervisor in 2024. Dana consistently demonstrated dedication and passion for her work, and she will be greatly missed by many in the water department and throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board member questions or comments? Thank you. Okay, we'll now open it up for public comments on item 14. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. See no one rise. That concludes our agenda for today. I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of Dana Wilson and send our regards to her family. We are adjourned. Thanks.